I am so grateful to have overcome devastating challenges over my lifetime. It's for this reason that I am passionate and obligated to share my faith, my hope, and my life. My faith is in God, my hope is in His promises, and my life is for this purpose. I am Yvonne Roundtree, and this is Everyday Matters. We have Jonathan Roundtree and Michael White here. We're going to discuss how we can reach our youth with the gospel message.
Share with us some things that you think might be able to help some other young person that is going through some of the things that you are experiencing right now.
I think first off, the biggest thing would be you have to find somebody that you're very comfortable with speaking to.
Okay.
It's nothing wrong. That's what I found. There's nothing wrong with talking to somebody and getting a spiritual guidance, but at the same time, you have to be able to talk to them and they can kind of help you out without, like you said, taking you straight to the Bible or just let's pray. It's, like that's fine, but sometimes I don't want all of that. I might just want a quick answer. I might just want you to talk to me like if we were just out on the street or something like that without spiritual influence to it. And that's something I had to find, and I started talking to people, and after they might talk to me, I think the way that I like it, that I've seen so far, is they'll talk to you based on your situation, and after they know that they've handled that, then they'll say, okay, if you would like, I could take you to the scripture, we could pray on it, and then it kind of gives a balance to the whole situation instead of me just opposing and forcing this upon you.
Yes, that makes sense.
So that's the way I've liked it. Like I said, I've had a lot of friends, especially going through high school. I remember having a lot of friends that we all had problems, and a lot of teenagers go through problems, and number one, they don't want to talk to their parents. I know I didn't want to talk to my parents at all. Based on you not wanting to talk to your parents, that eliminates a lot of people right there, certain adults that you know you're not going to talk to about certain situations. After that, you have maybe, especially if you're in a church, a lot of times you're not going to want to talk to church people because you know where they're going to take you, and you know the situation you have to deal with, they're going to say, oh, that's not of God or something in that category. You don't want to deal with that. So what you don't want to do is push people into talking to the wrong people. And when they find the wrong people, whether it's in gangs or different things, and they get a negative influence, then you're wondering what happened, where did I lose them at? Well, you pushed something upon them that they wasn't ready for. And you tried to force, God, instead of maybe just trying to hear their situation, their problem, and talking to them as if you were just a parent, without being saved. That's the way I look at it. If you should talk to your kids, try to talk to them without being saved first, and hear their problem, then come with that.
Right. And you're absolutely right, because like we were saying before, that if they're not saved and you talk to them like because you're saved, then you can't reach them where they are, and you can't connect. And I think that's some good information that you're sharing, because a lot of parents, we do want to know why we can't reach our children and where we lost them. I mean, statistics say in education and in psychology that the ages between 13 and 16 is where we lose our children, those teenage years. But between 13 and 16, we lose them. And what happens is they start to be influenced by outsiders. And that's because somehow they're able to relate to them. When we're parenting, sometimes we're busy trying to pay bills and this and that and the other responsibilities of being responsible for the entire household. When your children come to you, you get you give them a quick answer and a easy answer, or just what comes natural to you. But like you said, forgetting where they are. It's not where we are, but it's where you are. We have to reach them where they are.
Well, I know based on a personal experience of himself, I won't name him or anything, but I remember he told me, I went to the church to get some help about a situation. I think it had to do with not having clothes and food and different stuff. And he said the church told him, you know, you need to pray about it and, you know, see where God leads you. He said, okay, well, that's not helping my situation right now.
Absolutely.
You know, so he went to the gangs. Gangs gave him everything he wanted. Gave him clothes, bought him new shoes, gave him food, and said, okay, since we got you all this, all you got to do is just do something back for us. But since he decided that they were going to give him all these things, he said, okay, well, I don't have a problem doing what they're asking me to do because they're taking care of me. And I think
met his need.
Yeah, it's a problem when, you know, gang members and different people can take care of somebody and listen to their situation, their problem, and help them. But the church can just say, okay, you need to pray.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
I think that we got to look at this whole piece of treasuring what the forefathers laid out. What I knew from Greater Harvest was that it was, to me, ahead of its time, because they were a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week church where that was food, whether that was shelter. They even had ambulatory services back in the day. And churches have to look again at the Great Commission and say, what are we going to do beyond the Sunday morning hour? Jesus said if they were hungry, feed them. They's clothes, put some clothes on them. Outdoors, let them in. And I think that was the motto of the original Greater Harvest. So people slept there, they ate there, and it was a safe place. But now all of these churches are closed. They only open on Sunday morning. I could never ascribe to that. And
so we're going to have to come down off our high horses, the church. That goes for all of us who are pastoring, and certainly I don't speak with a finger of accusation, but I do speak, or condemnation, but I do speak to power, truth to power, that we're going to have to make them feel comfortable again. Pastor Body, they fed them before they tried to pray over them. And so you have to meet the needs, the common needs of people. And so in order for us to reach people, Jesus, he didn't just preach to people. Hey, he gave them fish and loaves. He didn't just preach to them, he raised their dead family members, but he reached out to them, and the people loved him because he met the needs of the people, not just in their concerts. He didn't just ask for offerings and ask them to send in $5 for a vial of oil.
Or the church, they won't decide to act upon the emergency need of the person at that time. I don't think nothing wrong with the church. I think what they do as far as helping people is good. I just think sometimes they don't value the part that there's an emergency need at that moment in time. And sometimes you have to, maybe if somebody's hungry, maybe you need to feed them, you know, before you try to push getting saved to them.
Yes, yes.
And I think sometimes they overstep that and they just think you need to get saved.
Yes.
And you need to follow Christ, and then you'll be blessed. You know?
Yes, and you know, I really appreciate you making this point on behalf of yourself as well as other young people and adults. You know, I'm sure that we've all experienced that at one point or another, and it's really important that if our intentions are to help people, that we do just that we help them. And knowing just how to help people is as simple as listening to them. You know, if they tell you that my need is that I need some clothes or I need to eat within, that's the need that they have. And if you can meet that need, you meet that need, and then you could pray for them. Because actually, my personal feelings about praying with someone who may not necessarily have the faith that you have is like it's useless. You could pray for them and be more effective than wanting them to pray with you, you know, because their faith is not there. But you can believe for them and, like you said, meet their need and send them on their way and pray for them. And I just want you to continue to share this as much as you can, because it's really important, and we do really want to know. We do care. And that's why we're asking.
It's definitely something that's needed, and I mean, it's based on me going out every day, and I see young kids and teenagers, and then even still talking to some of my friends who we've graduated high school and they're going to college, and it's like a lot of people don't grow up. A lot of people still are stuck in their ways that we were in high school. A lot of them still thinking about just partying and having fun, and that's okay, but you know, based on my own situation, it's like I don't have time for partying. I don't have time to go do all of that stuff. You know, I had based on the choices I make, sometimes you grow up faster than you expect. And like I'm joining the military and joining the Army, and that's a choice that I look to the future, and now I accept. At first, I was kind of iffy about it, like, you know, I don't know about this, but I had to develop a positive attitude on where I want to go in life and what I want to do. And a lot of people are not doing that, and I think they're not prepared like they should be. I wasn't prepared in high school like I could have been. And some of it is my fault, but at the same time, I remember having my guidance counselor who didn't help me out at all, really. I never was able to see him really. I didn't have a plan on me going to college. He didn't even know if I was going to college or not. And my school was based on, let's pass the test, the ACT test, so they can get their funding. Everything was based off the test, not graduating. Didn't matter if you graduated, it just mattered that you passed that ACT test. And so it's like, if you don't care, how do you expect students to care? How do you expect someone to put forth the effort to say, I want to make something out of my life and go to Harvard or Yale or wherever they want to go, and you don't seem to want to help them? You just...
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Saints need to get a passion for souls. My heart is troubled that the saints are only worried about getting a better job, getting more money, a bigger house, and a new car. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, because prosperity is a part of the gospel. But our main passion ought to be for those that are lost, those that are confused, those that are hurting, those that are mixed up, those that don't know the way. We ought to have a passion to go into the highways and the byways.
I've seen now through the years, a lot of people don't come to church, especially the young people. Sometimes the young people come in. If you get them to come in, we get them in the front door. Some of the traditional people, they push them and they'll push them out the back door. Don't be intimidated with them. That's number one. Don't be intimidated about the way they look, the way they talk. They have their own language. They have their own style. They're young people, but yet and still, you got Jesus Christ in your life, and God can reach them through you. That's the only way they'll get saved, is through you. That's the only way they'll know Christ, is through you. We got to also remember that a generation is coming up who know not God. So we have to make sure that we reach them individual so they can know who Jesus really is.
My final thought would be, if you, as parents, if you want to connect with your kids, especially based on what I've seen, you have to not necessarily try to get all in their business, because number one, that's going to push them away. And I know that for a fact, but just show them that you care. Be around, listen to them. Don't always just jump on them, or don't neglect the fact that they might have issues. Depending whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, you need to be able to connect with your child in a certain way. You still need to be a parent. I'm not saying be their best friend, be their friend, but at the same time, show compassion to them. And I believe that will maybe change some of the things in the ways that they might be acting. And, you know, I don't know the Bible by heart, but I know there were certain times where Jesus wasn't always spiritual with every person that he dealt with. it was sometimes that he was in the natural and he just met the need, and because he met the need, that converted them over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join me with Michael White discussing his faith and commitment to God.
So, Michael, you're 16.
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. And when are you going to be 17?
I'll be 17 next year on March 4th.
Okay. So, you are a born-again Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You have devoted your life to God.
Yes.
And how old were you when you realized that you wanted to give your life to God?
That's a good question. I was around maybe like 4 years old when I heard about God for the very first time.
And how did you hear about God for the very first time?
Well, it was all new to me. I mean, I've never heard of a God who was loving, so kind, and, you know, who died on the cross to save me and everything that. So just hearing the story of redemption and everything about him, it, you know, sparked my imagination. So.
Wow. So how did you hear about God for the first time? Who introduced you to God?
My parents introduced me to God.
Your parents. And how did they introduce you to God when you were, how old did you say, 7? About
4.
About 4. Okay. Yeah. So how, do you remember exactly when they introduced you to God? How did they do it?
Well, if I could explain, it was probably, I mean, it took place in my room or something, you know. They were just telling me, you know, who he was and that he was omnipotent and his omniscient knowledge and everything. And just hearing about him, just like, wait, what? Who?
At 4, this is how they, okay.
This is how they illustrated it to me.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, wow, really?
Okay.
So just finding out more and everything like that, it just, I was really amazed just to hear about everything.
So you're in the church. You all went to church?
Yeah.
Regularly?
Yes, regularly.
On Sunday, during the week, you went to Bible study or anything like that?
More like Saturday. We went to church weekly every Saturday.
Okay, so you go to church on Saturday.
Yeah.
What is your faith actually? You are a Christian, but why church on Saturday versus Sunday?
My faith is I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and what that is, we believe that Jesus Christ is coming very soon.
Okay.
And that we believe that when God made the world, you know, he made it in 6 days and rested on the 7th.
Okay.
So basically that's what Seventh-day Adventists are. We believe in exercise, healthy eating, and everything, and spreading God's gospel throughout the world.
So total well-being.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
The other question that I guess, you know, I'm just really, really curious as to how a young person like you could give his life over to a God that he can't see. But obviously we know that you can feel him. So you feel him, but he's not there to say, stop, don't. You can perceive when he's giving you this guidance. And I'm just saying this from my own experience. You know, when I experience God, I'm experiencing him from the inside out, whereas most young people your age experience direction from the outside, from their parents and other people around them who are saying, don't, stop, you shouldn't. So, you know, I'm just really fascinated by the fact that at your young age, you are able to receive guidance from what you can't see, but based on what you feel, which actually is very significant in proving that God is real. So is there anything else that can just help me to understand how you have this relationship with God and how this relationship has been able to lead you and guide you in your everyday life and keep you from being a part of the peer pressure that so many young people your age fall into, and ultimately into destruction as a result? how is it that you avoided that? I'm sure that you still have some pressures from your peers in school and in your community. How do you handle it?
Well, the peer pressure I deal with, it gets pretty strong, especially in school. Sometimes you feel like you want to give in because, well, it's the flesh. Your flesh wants to do the things that it feels like it's doing because we're all sinful creatures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's natural.
Right, but basically, I deal with it by praying to God, reading His Word every day. And between that and my parents teaching me about Him and all that other stuff, I'm able to say, you know what, I can't do this. As much as I, feel drawn, and no matter how close I get, even though there are some moments when, I've made mistakes, as I'm not perfect. Right. Nobody is, but exactly. When I feel that moment when I'm about to, I just feel like, you know what, I can't do this because if I do this, I'm not going to feel happy. God's not going to feel happy, and well, that's two unhappy people right there, and I'm not going to feel any better myself.
So, it's really, again, amazing that you are sensitive to wanting to please God. Again, that you can't see Him, but you want to please Him. The other thing is your parents. I would think that you would have to have a very high regard and respect for your parents. Even though you didn't mention them, you mentioned that you didn't want to displease God, but I know that I believe that since your parents led you to God so early in your life, that they also are an image of God for you in order to keep you disciplined, so to speak. Because even as an adult, there are times when I'm on my job or conducting business in other areas with ungodly people or people who just don't have the same relationship with God that I do, that you find yourself trying to relate to them in a way that can keep you all on one accord, because that's important whenever you are doing business with people or relating to them in whatever manner, that you are on one accord, so to speak, so that you can accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with them. So right. With your friends, or not necessarily your friends, your peers, in school, like I said, these are your classmates and young people in the community, even young people in the church, like you said, experiencing peer pressure, but being able to realize that if you pray, and you didn't say this, but I think I know that you get help. You get help by either God removing the pressure from you, or either giving you wisdom, knowledge, so that you can handle the pressure. You will know what to do in response to the pressure.
Right, exactly.
Yes, and that's just, it's so wonderful that a young man at your age is able to grasp that, because that's going to take you so far in life, because you have it right now. Because it took me up until I was 40 years old. I can remember very clearly when I gave my life over to God. I thought that I was giving my life to God by going to church and tithing and doing all of the ritualistic things that we are told that we should do. And actually, it's about relationship. It's about getting to a place in your life where you recognize that God is, He's worthy of responding to you, responding to His guidance, just as you do with your parents, because you respect your parents. You believe that your parents would not lead you astray. That's where the conversion process comes in your relationship with God. You realize that everything that He is expecting of you, not only is He giving you what you need to achieve it, but He's doing this because He cares for you so much. He wants the best for you. Right. When we were created in our mother's womb, He had a plan for us. He had a purpose for us. And He created us for that purpose. And our entire lives, He is bringing us to that purpose. He's leading us to that purpose. He's processing things in our lives that will help us to fulfill that purpose. It's just all about fulfilling our purpose. It's no different than this chair that we're sitting in. Someone thought of it because there was a need. People need a place to sit, so they're not sitting on the floor. You know, it wasn't until later that the chairs got all fancy and everything, but basically it was just very practical as far as providing a place where people can sit. Well, same thing with us. You know, I realized that he had a purpose in mind before I was created, which caused him to create me. So he said, I'm going to create a person, you know, to do whatever it is that was in our purpose to do. And then there it was, you know, that opportunity came about through our parents, you know, him bringing them together because he chose them. All were created to fulfill a purpose. The problem comes in, which it takes me back to why I'm just so excited about your life, is that most of us go through life like I did and don't realize our purpose. So what does that mean? We're just bumming around doing things that are not
right.
Exactly. They're not taking us in the direction we need to go in. Now, God is always orchestrating things to get us back on track. And he's even using some of the things that we connect ourselves to, some of the more negative things, you know. And I realized that as well, that he used even those negative things to help create who I am. So, in a sense, there wasn't all a mistake. You know, should we know who we are when we first are conceived or when we're first born? Jesus knew. He knew exactly what his purpose was from the very beginning. Is that necessary for us? You know, because here we have two people. We're on two different sides of the spectrum. You knew very early on who you were in Christ. I didn't. I didn't learn until later. But in finding out later, I accumulated a lot of experiences and a lot of knowledge and wisdom that allowed me to be who I am today. So, you know, we have two different dynamics here. And I think that because God doesn't make any mistakes, they're both right. You know, because we look at people a lot of times because of where they are when they're there, and it doesn't look good to us, and we dismiss them. You know, we figure that, okay, they've gone the wrong way. And that's just it, and that's just all. Never thinking that in them going in the wrong direction, when they finally understand their purpose, they're going to use those same things that they experienced in their purpose. I'm glad that you came by, Michael, just to share some things with us. And I want you to come back again because I know that we're going to hear about some great things in you. And I just wish you all the best.
Join Everyday Matters discussions. Share your reviews, comments, and questions. Go to Everyday Matters TV at googlegroups.com and join us today. The choices that you make today will determine the life that you live tomorrow. Every day matters.